we saw a 20% increase in our special education students on their test scores in reading and math by using this method.
Welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. My name is David Gilliland. I am your host today. We're excited to dive into the ins and outs of the Seven Figure Journey together. And we have with us Susan Riley with the Institute of, and she's nodding her head.
The Institute for Arts Integration and STEAM.
The Institute for Arts Integration and STEAM. The name is hard for me, but the concept behind it is so perfect. I mean, they have built a system and process for teachers in K through 12 to teach the core hard stuff that we say everyone needs to learn, to teach it in the way the brain and the body really need it, like integrating arts, education, all that through to help them actually learn. They've seen great results. You know, we want to improve education in our community and in our country, and Susan and her team have done that. Really excited to have her on. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, David. It's a pleasure to be here.
Where are you calling out of today?
So we're based in Maryland, in Westminster, Maryland. It's about 45 minutes northwest of Baltimore.
Lovely, lovely. Well, we're delighted to have you on. Tell us just a little bit, how did you get started in this? Were you like a disgruntled teacher? Were you a parent that's like, surely there's a better way? Were you an administrator beating your head against the wall? Like, where did this come from?
Kind of a mix of all three. I have a background as a musician, and I was a music teacher for about 10 years. And in the middle of that period of time, just like most teachers, I hit that burnout wall and decided, people aren't really valuing the arts in my position that I'm in right now. Maybe if I become an administrator, they will. So I went and got my master's degree in administration. And as a part of that process, I needed to do a research project. And I happened to fall into arts integration as a method for teaching. I had never heard of it before, but it made a ton of sense. And so I actually went to my administrator at the time and said, you know what, I want to use this for my admin project and do a pilot run of using arts integration in our school. And he was fabulous. Love him. John Beerus, shout out to you as an administrator. He's retired now, to the detriment of all children everywhere. But he said, you know what, go for it. If you can get one a kindergarten through second grade teacher and one third through fifth grade teacher on your team, you can do a little pilot. And sure enough, I pitched it to our team leaders, and all of our grade level team leaders said, I'm in, plus our special ed teacher and our reading specialist. So we had this pilot group of about 8 people that we tried out arts integration for a year and had stunning results. Like, we saw a 20% increase in our special education students on their test scores in reading and math by using this method. I mean, outstanding.
Yeah, that's crazy. The goals the schools are setting, they're like stretching to get 5, 6, 7%.
Right.
Just stretching, saying if we could hit this would be awesome. And you were seeing 20%.
20%. We saw a 5% increase in classroom attendance. So kids wanted to come to school. They were learning better. And interestingly enough, we actually also saw an increase in the middle students, not the gifted, not the special ed, although we did see increases there. We also saw in the middle that nobody is talking about.
The forgotten core. Yeah.
Exactly. Those kids really started to bump up as well. So after that initial pilot, we increased it school-wide. It took off. We ended up getting an award from the Kennedy Center as being an arts education school of note. It was crazy. In the middle of that whole process, I had decided I was looking for resources everywhere. And at the time, you got to remember, this was like back in 2009, 2010. The internet was the wild, wild west. Resources were still coming in DVD format and books, right? And the stuff that we had available to us, it was really expensive. And so it was hard to get access to because we didn't have a whole lot of money. And there was nobody sharing about what the problems look like. Like, we had solutions galore, right? And they were massive, but it wasn't like, I didn't get individual lessons. I couldn't find individual resources anywhere. And the PD was big and bulky and really expensive. And so I was like, you know what? We should really share out what we're doing with other people. So I started a blog. I ended up calling it Education Closet because we had a closet for our arts integration supplies. And the whole point of it was to just document what we were doing and share it out with people and say, look, we're trying this. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. And the solutions that we figured out to get around that. Here's the lessons that we're developing. Here's some resources. We just kind of made it shareable. And from that, that is how the Institute started. I ended up leaving that school and becoming the first arts integration specialist for a county in the state of Maryland, and took what I learned at our school and applied it district wide. So now, instead of just being in an elementary school, now it was being applied elementary, middle, and high. And the district had the same exact results that we had from the school. But of course, I'm learning different techniques, like what the ins and outs of what worked at an elementary school implementation doesn't work when you're working with 5,000 teachers and 20 schools. That's a very different beast. And
Yeah.
so I kept the blog going and saying, okay, now we're looking at a district implementation. Here's what works for that. And in the meantime, as this is growing and evolving, then I started getting consulting requests and, schools reaching out and asking, how can we do this? And how can we work with you? And so in 2014, I left my full-time job as an arts integration specialist for Anne Arundel County Public Schools and became the CEO of the Institute for Arts Integration and STEAM. And it's grown since then.
That's awesome. So you started off as an entrepreneur and then turned into an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
One of those.
Yes.
I'm inside making change happen, and then realizing that the impact you could have couldn't be contained by a district, county,
Yeah. And what's
and
funny
really
is that
needed to be live outside.
I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad is a serial entrepreneur. I started maybe 5 or 6 businesses, sold them, done different things. And I never wanted that life ever. I became a teacher because I wanted a steady paycheck. I did not want the feast or famine life that I grew up with. It was not, I was like, I want nothing to do with this. And by the time that everything had taken off, I remember looking at my husband saying, I want to bet on me. I want to bet on me. I want to bet on this because I think this has something that could impact way more people than what I'm doing now. So,
And you've passed the feast or famine game.
yeah,
You're actually at the place you're like, oh wait, it was feast or famine because those were like 3 and 5 people organizations, and it all
right.
depends on right this
Yep,
next deal. You've
yeah,
passed that now. You're a regular entrepreneur that's now more like a CEO and growing into
yeah.
that. Talk to us a little bit about that transition, the move, some of the nuggets, things that have helped you since you've got almost 20 people working with you as contractors or full-time employees right now. Um, uh, what have been some keys to success as you've built more of a regular business going here?
Yeah, it's what's interesting for me looking back on everything and how in the journey of where we are at now is the combination of flexibility and systems. So, in order for us to really grow, for a long time, we were working with individual teachers. A teacher would find us and then buy a ticket to our online conference or a membership to our platform, right, individually, and that's great. That's a great way to get started. But the real income came when we started working on district level contracts, larger contracts, longer term, right? In order for us to be able to do that, we had to, one, anticipate the market and be able to be flexible enough to shift the ship, right? Because going from a B2C to a B2B is tricky. So you have to be flexible enough to be able to do that and be able to make changes quickly. But at the same time, in order to support those schools, we had to have systems in place, which I had never had before. Mostly I was just flying by the seat of my pants. So in order for us to develop those systems and those hierarchies and understand how to develop from just a group of people who are passionate about this to a true organization and have an organizational structure and understand how to support people coming on board and having systems in place for doing that, having a system in place for onboarding schools so that when a school comes to us, we have a process for that. And we're not just, going out and just kind of doing our own thing. As we hire more people, that's really, really important. And then being able to sustain those systems, but also know when a system needs to change. that has been a tricky balance. But I think we've gotten to the point where we know where that tipping point is.
That okay. So it's fun. I asked for one nugget and she decides to drop four on us. So let's unpack some of this just a little bit, okay? Because yes, and let's walk through it a little. I
Yeah.
mean, you were going along, a bunch of people passionate about what they're doing. This is
Yeah.
fun. Look, we can all help, and everyone's helping. Everyone on your team probably looked like mini Susans going off and doing, caring for, doing, right? Or whatever, right? They're all running around and doing some great stuff. But then you realize we have to be able to scale this.
Yes.
And the larger districts are going to expect a certain level of predictability in what's done, this B2B shift, and selling them is different, and all of this. And so you start to say, okay, first we have to be able to respond quickly and move to the market. You were still discovering your product market fit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
now, glad if a teacher decides to come in and auto
Yes.
sign up for some online something. In fact, that grassroots is really important to
Yes.
then win over the district to say, these people have already adopted it. It's the time you
Exactly.
get on board, right?
Yeah.
So it's still beautiful, but your business is built around how do we get large scale change happening with these districts moving quickly.
Right.
You found your product market fit, you began to hit on that helped you pass your $1 million mark.
Exactly.
It was that moment, okay, we found
Yeah.
product market fit. Then you started to say, okay, to actually do something with this, we have to figure out processes.
Mm-hmm.
We have to figure out process for how we deliver, and we have to figure out process for how we lead and manage a team and
Yes.
bring them on. And so I heard two different kinds of processes. And I think both of them we have to sit in, because some of us seven-figure business owners have great stuff around our team and are
Mm-hmm.
building that. And we're sort of running everywhere, just superheroes saving the day for customers all day,
Yeah.
which isn't sustainable. Um, and some of us have the processes nailed down for the customers, and we're churning through team members,
Yeah.
or it's hit and miss. The processes fall apart because the team is so poor at it, or the
Right.
supervision isn't where it needs to be for those newer team members. And so we've got to up our game in being an employer. We're like, that's not what I got into this business to do. I was helping kids
Right.
learn,
Yeah.
not figuring out how to have a team of people, right? And so,
Right. Exactly.
so
Well,
I
and I
heard
think
that was a big shift for you.
it absolutely is, and
Yeah.
it's still an ongoing process. To be really honest, it's something that I'm constantly working on. For us being able to onboard a school, we can figure that out. One of our big programs is a certification program in arts integration. So we have coaches, we mentor the coaches, we know how to coach people into those processes. That's just a natural part of teaching. But when you are faced with a team of people that in jobs that you never really anticipated, like I've always anticipated having people to support schools or teachers individually or deliver content, right? But when you got to hire a sales team and you have no idea how much do you give for commission, what's fair, what does that look like, what's a base salary, and
Are they
then
any good?
right, exactly. What does good mean? Like, what's a metric for good?
Yeah.
You filling those kinds of roles in order to scale is extremely complicated, and some of those processes have to change based on individuals and because people aren't cogs in a wheel. So while you have to have processes, there has to be flexibility to them as well, and that's a tricky balance.
Yeah. No, I think this last little nugget we're going to sit on is this: am I looking into the future far enough to see what does my business need to look like in order to serve those future customers that we care about at the volume or scale that we're
Mhm.
planning on? And can I see what that looks like? And then what roles would be necessary? Susan can't wear the 7 hats she's
Oh
been
yeah.
wearing. And you've got a right hand gal or guy who's also wearing too many hats. And in fact, as you scale, there'll be roles that come up just because of the volume of people in your team. You're like,
Yeah.
I need that role. Yep, you need that role. That wasn't a customer facing one. I'm fully aware of that. Right. this, this
Yeah,
one's a team facing one, and it's needed, or their life so disrupted that they can't focus on their job. Right. And
yeah.
so,
Well, and also to piggyback on that, yes, you've got to look far enough down the road to see what do you need, but at the same time, you're looking at your own cash flow right now.
mhm.
How can you get to where you need to be at the cash flow level that you're at and bridge the gap? That's a huge piece, I think, and at least it has been for us. And there's lots of different ways to do it. Um, and then I don't think there's any right or wrong way. It's just whatever way you need, but it's being willing to take the risk, knowing what's coming.
Yeah, yeah. Now that I see what I'm building, am I willing to take the bet on me again?
Yes.
Right. And
Yeah.
am I doing that with my personal funds? Am I doing that with bank loan funds? Are we
Yep.
doing, can we afford to do it with cash flow of the business right now, the profitability? Or do I have to do the most expensive one, which looks like no dollars out of pocket now, but it's equity,
Yeah.
right? Which,
Yeah. And that one
yeah,
that one I haven't done. I've been approached
yeah,
a lot of times, but I just that one's hard.
yeah, yeah. Well, if you can do it another way, it's certainly cheaper to do it the other ways. So,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right. So let's that like great insights. That's the stuff that we live in. But those processes became key for you.
Yeah.
Learning, getting the systems and processes in place so you could keep serving customers. Processes need to be there to serve your team too. And
Yes.
and
Yeah,
the
that allows
customers.
me to then step away, and that's where I'm at now, that I can
Yeah.
now step away and actually enjoy a vacation with my family and not be on call 24/7 because I'm the only one who
Yes.
knows how to deal with something. But also that I have a team who is resourceful and trustworthy enough that should something go awry, yes, they have a process in place, but they also know how to go and fix a problem without coming to me first. You know,
And
that has been huge.
yeah, absolutely. And every one of us have. I know you didn't just luck upon that. You
Oh, no.
probably learned that you hired the wrong people a few times, that you had to
Yes.
go through some pain and all that sort of stuff, just
100%.
like the rest of us.
Yes.
Uh, but how did you build them to a point that they were making decisions in line with what you would have done while you're away?
Yeah.
How did you get them there?
It took a while, and there are still some that we're modeling that work, but essentially, we start with the, see one, do one, practice one kind of model that doctors use, in that I give them a lot of modeling up front. And then I work on it with them together. So I'll gently be like, okay, on this project, what would you do? And they'll come to me for a while and say, here's what I would do. What is that okay? Is that what you would do? And I'll either say, oh yeah, run with it, or here's how I might refine that a little bit. And we'll do that until they're comfortable. And then at one point, I'll let them go. It's kind of like letting the driver in the driver's seat and just say, okay, this one you're taking on your own. And we'll look at it at the end and see what happened and kind of do a post-mortem on what would you have done differently? What did you like? And that has worked really, really well. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of time. It's about a year of really intentionality of moving to that in each role that you're going to do it in.
I could not agree with you more. And for all of you entrepreneurs listening in that didn't grow up in teaching, this is a skill you have to learn. Right? Susan mentioned the doctor way of doing. That's a way of doing for any of these apprentice style of learning. Right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going through, and so re-listen to what she just said. That was gold. Okay, and show them, let them. So one time, sometimes I'll say explain, do, guide, and
Yeah.
then enable them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the second piece in there, did you hear what Suze? Oh, Suze, I loved how you said this. They came up. You said, all right, so here's the issue. What would you do?
Yeah.
You led with questions, not with
Yes.
answers,
Yeah.
right? Which
So
open up their minds,
yep.
help them think creatively. They come back, and then your next question are probably like, oh, yeah, absolutely, run with it. Or have you considered?
Yes.
Here's
Right.
some insight
Follow
that maybe I didn't share this data with you. Now, how would you adjust it? And
Yes.
and that you have this, what you're doing is you're developing them as thinkers instead of just doers. And a thinker can run stuff when you're not around, especially when they've learned to think in line with your own values of what matters in your business in your way. So just
Yes.
gold. Susan, thank you so much.
Oh,
Right?
you're
These are
welcome.
things we have to learn. And you're like, I thought this is everyone does this. This is what we do in teaching. No, some of
Oh,
us were just experts in our field and we never had to teach and train others. And it's complicated and hard sometimes.
yeah, I did want to just jump in because I think there you mentioned values, and that is something that as a team we sat down and created a set of 5 core
Ah,
values that really
yes.
help us guide literally every decision. So when I go through that mentor model of having them of releasing decision making to them, we're literally going through those 5 values at all times. Those values guide how we make decisions for customers, for our team, and they're even embedded into our review process so that we're ensuring that together we're all moving in the same direction.
Yeah. And not just did you do the valuable work of defining these values, and defining them isn't like, oh, what should they be? It's
Right,
more like, what are they? We're
right.
discovering them because this unique team, this was the piece I really loved. Do you hear how she said, I love how you said it. She said, we sat down together. You co created them.
Oh, yeah.
When we come at our team with this is what we're doing and this is who we are and this is what you need to be, when we
Mhm.
come at them like that, especially in the nascent beginning phases, you're going to fight an adoption issue
Oh,
forever.
yeah.
Your
Oh,
team's
yeah.
never going to adopt it. But you
Yeah.
didn't do that. You discovered it. Their fingers are all over it. They're fully bought in. This is their business. This is
Yes.
their team. They're excited. Beautiful. Anyway, just love it. So I'm just gold. Absolutely great advice that all of us can use, no matter the industry.
Great.
Okay, we're going to shift some gears. Because you've succeeded to this point, Susan, you're a
Yes.
successful entrepreneur. What that means is you find bigger problems. You've
This is true.
grown to the next ones.
Yes.
Big problems means you succeeded to this point and now you're ready for the next hurdle. What are you facing now? Maybe we can be of help.
I think 2 big things. One we've already kind of touched on a little bit is that making the leap to our next future component. How do I bet on me that is sustainable over time? Um, we've had bank loans before. I really don't want to do them again. We can use some cash flow, but I like to have a little bit in the cushion in the bank. There's a little bit of that, you know, not sure about the economy component. So that is a little, I know we need to invest in some positions, but trying to figure out how to afford them at this point, even on our own cash flow, if we can. That's not truly 100% focused on state of mind. My biggest one is actually ensuring clarity of communication, that everyone hears the same thing
Yeah.
that I'm trying to communicate.
Why does that matter to you?
um,
What's the
because,
payoff to what we're talking
right?
about here?
So, like, if everybody hears the same thing and understands what I'm actually saying, we move so much more efficiently. We're
Yeah.
faster, we're more nimble, and then I'm not drowning in like paperwork and time, and we can make more profit, right?
Yes. Yes. And it is that big of a deal.
Yeah,
I've watched teams go from losing money quarter after quarter. And these are
yeah,
small teams in the like 20 people, 22
yeah.
people, and losing $250,000 a year.
Mhm.
That's serious money for a team that size. And it can be worse. It can be worse,
Yeah,
but still, that's painful.
yeah,
Losing that kind of money to the same team, maybe one person out, two people out, maybe one other person in, normal shifts and changes.
yeah.
Basically, the same team, same industry, same services, 2 years later, putting away $1 million in profit
Amazing. Yeah.
from what you just said.
Mm.
Can
Yes.
we get them all on the same page, focused on the right stuff, working in unison, and just plowing forward together? All of that resistance gone, all of the and like you look at, where did the money come from? It's like, well, they were delivering at 107%, 7% over budget, and now they're delivering at 67% of budget. Theirs
Yeah.
was the profit, right? There was a
Right.
profit. They were able to do that much more work with the same team. And
Yes.
and yes, so it does matter. Because most of the listeners are like, what are you talking about? She was over just the first issue she brought up. How do I get the cash? How do we invest? What are we going to do? That's what burns. That's where the cash is. Sue's
Yeah.
like, no, it's not. It's all about
Mm-mm.
how I use the cash I've got today. Can I get double out of the same?
Yes.
And right.
Exactly.
And you
Yeah.
see the potential in your team. It's about the people,
It is.
right?
And I know it's me. I also recognize it's me. There's something that I'm not doing or communicating well. I think I'm being clear, right? But
Yeah.
then I'll get an
Yeah.
email from someone who says something, like um, questioning something that I swear I just told you
We
that
just
last
told you
week.
this.
I
Yes.
literally
Okay.
just told you this process. I don't understand why we're still having that struggle. So there's got to be some gap that I'm
All
missing
right.
in clarity.
Well, good. Let's get in there. How do we create clarity for our team so we can take targeted, coordinated action? That's the
Yes.
key.
Yes.
Clarity for our team so we get targeted, coordinated action on the daily. And I here are some things I'm going to share, and then I want you to dive into the one you want us to, because
Okay.
there's two sides of it, and they're both really important.
Okay.
But on this call, we're going to do one of them. So, one side is total clarity about the business we're trying to build for 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. So, think strategic, long term direction, clarity, and everyone on the same page, effectively moving forward, all of that.
Mhm.
Or the 80% of our time where we need to be in the business, or the clarity and alignment around how does what is our clear goal that we have to hit for this year in running our daily operations, our sales, our delivery to our customers, our accounting behind it, right?
Mhm.
And all of the clarity with that to ensure the whole the beast, the engine is going the same direction.
Yep.
Which one do you want to talk about? Do you want, because they're both essential for our growth at this phase? Do you want to talk about the long-term strategic and getting
Mhm.
everyone on board around that, or around the operational excellence?
I want to go with the operational one.
Great. Okay. Let's do that. Just know, don't forget the other one. It
No,
will be the
we
key
we
for
have
your breathing clearly. Okay.
we have a strategic leadership team retreat every 3 years that goes over the vision and works on through that and then delivers
Did,
it to the team.
you said 3 years, but you meant 3 months. Or do
No,
you really mean 3 years?
no, we do 3 years at a time for a strategic future visioning. So
Okay.
that's what I'm talking about. But 3 months is, I would love to think about 3 months. That would be great.
I want you to think in a 3 month increment on
Okay.
that big vision, the big mission setting, which is a 3 year kind of thing, three,
Yeah.
4 years it does.
Yeah.
And then what the rhythm is to keep your team on action and delivery for the long term. But we'll leave
Okay.
that aside for now.
Okay.
Now let's play with this operational. So I love this.
Got it.
So let's go back to what really matters. If we
Mhm.
want people fully aligned, we don't want your team saying, well, is this a change? Are we going a new direction?
Yeah.
Just because you told them their metric of success changed.
Yes.
It, the alignment didn't. So let's start with alignment. This part of the alignment goes for both the long term and short term. First, is your purpose clear? And your purpose is the meaning. Yours is an easy one to me, but it may be different for your team. You
Okay.
co created your core values.
Mhm.
Awesome. Did we co create a purpose? Did we get out there and say, here's the impact we plan on having in the world for our team, for the people we serve, for the communities we're in, whatever it is? What's the impact where the team finds a sense of purpose? And I know this may seem lofty and non business like and whatever.
No, I actually think it's important.
It's crazy important
Yes.
because people put in their discretionary effort on the things that provide meaning, that matter to them.
Mhm. Yes.
So you own time from them with your payroll exchange. You pay them, they have to deliver X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But the above and beyond, they own. You can
Yes.
never demand it,
Right.
but it
Right.
comes when it's aligned with purpose that they care about deeply. So that matters. We're going to get the purpose clear.
Okay.
Your core values, you've done the work. I love it. And I love that it's alive every day.
Mhm.
Keep up with that. That's so powerful. We just need to get the purpose doing the same. Then we're going to build a mission out, and a mission is a meaningful goal,
Hmm.
meaning it's not your revenue numbers
Right.
yet. It's like we're going to impact 20 million students. We're going to increase their competency, their learning by 10% and their joy by 50%.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
we do have the mission statement. We actually put it straight on our about page.
Great. Tell me your mission.
So our mission is to impact 10,000 schools by 2025 with
Perfect.
arts integration and STEAM resources, curriculum, and PD.
Fantastic. I don't care the with part
Okay.
at all. I
Got it.
do care about that top piece.
Yep.
You had a measurable, it was right in line with a purpose. Your purpose is in there. We're going to just stick it up there at the top. Like, you are impacting these lives. You're
Yep.
impacting lives, you're changing them, you're lifting them. We could get that tighter, but always remembering these 10,000 lives by 2020 what?
2025.
Okay, by 2025, 10,000 lives. And do you have a way to, with clarity, measure that? No wiggle room.
Yes.
Perfect. Great. All right. Now we're going to have mission goals, and these become important to your daily management. With the mission goals, it says if we hit our mission in pursuit of this purpose, we are making enough profits to keep going after that purpose.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So we need X amount of revenues, probably, with so much profits coming through on that. We
Hmm.
need to have, in order to have this sustainable, you probably have to have so many, I don't know how yours work, but a retention goal,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Either a re-up,
Yep.
renewals. There's
Hmm.
probably something in there. There may be some measurements in there that show that your team is succeeding, like a team retention,
Okay.
may or may not. There may
Yep.
be something in there for the investors are a profit. The team is the one. Then the customer satisfaction is at renewal. So we've hit your three main constituents, your stakeholders in your business, right? The basic ones. There are more, but
Yep.
these are the ones we have to win with stay in business. So those are in the mission goals. Now those mission goals. Now let's begin a fun cascading, and it can work both ways. But first, let's cascade with your team, thinking through it. If we need to have X revenue,
Hmm.
who owns bringing the revenue on? There's
Okay.
probably a role.
Yep.
And then they probably have a team that helped them deliver that. And
Hmm.
you start seeing, well, this person needs to do 1 million and this person will have to do 1.5 million. They've got more experience and a better market they're playing. And this one's doing 1 million, right? Because to hit the 10,000, we knew that our revenue mark was going to have to be 3.5 million. I don't really know your revenue marks,
Yeah. No.
but right?
We actually do this, and I'll just share with you how we do it, and let me know if how I can make it better. So
Great.
we meet quarterly. Everybody owns a category on our KPIs. So whether it's revenue, social media influence, like how many people
Yeah.
have reached social media, how many people are retained in terms of school groups, how many are going through certification, etc. Right? Everybody has a metric that they fill in over the last 3 months. We meet once a quarter to go over that. Everybody has notes about that, and we share here's where we're at, green, yellow, red on our goals. So we'll have a goal for that, and whether or not you met it. If you got green, great. But if you are anywhere in yellow or red, what's your plan for moving forward? And if you need support, we take that time during that meeting to ask any ideas for helping me get through this. Here's the struggle point. I'm working on this, but I might need another idea here or there, and we all pitch in and support. So that's how we kind of address those goals. But I would, if there's anything I can do to make that
Let's
better.
let's get those just a little tighter and more regular. So we're about communication clarity is what you wanted.
Yes.
So on that quarterly, you're reviewing your purpose, your core values, your mission, you're reminding them, you're sharing stories of why it matters and lives that are changed. You're showing them then how their work aligns perfectly with that.
Okay.
And you own this KPI to deliver. That is happening on the quarterly basis. Wonderful. Do exactly what you're doing. I would just make sure that you're doing more touches than that. We
Okay.
human beings, we are built to forget.
Mhm.
So memory disintegrates, degenerates, disappears
Yeah.
over time. In fact, just leaving the meeting room and going through the door will have them forget. And we laugh, but we've all experienced going into the storage room and not even remembering why we're there.
Yeah.
Walking into the kitchen, like, what am I looking at? Open the fridge door. I have no idea why I'm standing at we had a very specific thing and we forget it. We are built to forget. It's how that runs. There's very few who hold it all. And so we have a job as the chief reminding officer. This is the, or the chief evangelist,
Yes.
right? The chief evangelist officer to keep imbuing meaning and sense of contribution in what they're doing every day. So every 3 months does need to happen to coordinate across a larger group, bigger issues. But monthly should be checking in on progress.
Yes, we do that.
Weekly should be looking at and seeing both by team on a weekly and individually on a weekly basis. So think one-on-ones where we're reminding here's your and here's what you're focusing on and how it aligns and how can we help you and how are you doing in life, right? We're going to check
Yeah.
on that. And then
Yeah.
on a team, we're checking regularly looking at it, and then having them, because that's a lot of meetings and a lot of people.
Yeah. And
Guess who doesn't?
they don't want me. I did weekly and I got so much pushback of this isn't, we don't really need this. It's not really helpful to me. So that's
And
why we
and
want
it,
to go monthly
and
and quarterly.
and it's possible that your meetings weren't being done effectively for them, or that they weren't owning the meetings.
Okay.
I bring a meeting together for them, not for me.
Right.
The meeting comes in because they want clarity, they want resources, they want barriers removed, and they need to come prepared for that. So they're going to say, I'm green. And by the way, my weekly team meeting kind of thing, if you're going to do a weekly team meeting at this level and you're in operations now, we're just in operations,
Yeah.
we're not talking about all hands. I'm not saying everybody's together talking about this. This is this team, the sales group are talking together. Then, I mean, tell me what this stuff is. Let's lay this out. If this is an operations rinse and repeat kind of group, they can be 10, 15-minute meetings. That's it.
Okay.
Stand up kind of stuff, real touch, real quick, but we always remember the mission. We always remember our key goals. Here's the last piece I'm going to put in on a goal thing that may be helpful to you
Okay.
is how many KPIs does one person, how many metrics of success for
No more
someone's
than
role?
three. No more than
Perfect.
3 KPIs.
Great.
Yeah.
Keep those three, and I want you to order them, which ones are most important, and weight them so they understand how much. That weighting can change one period to the next. So it could change week to week, or
Yeah.
month to month, or quarterly to quarterly, whatever the time period takes to achieve that,
Yeah.
or when it's lived its life cycle.
Mhm.
But I want to know as an individual, this one is 70% of my role.
Gotcha.
This one's 20 and this one's 10. None
Yeah.
of this 33% garbage,
Yeah.
because they want clarity around their role and they
Okay.
want feedback that I'm succeeding on the daily. If they have clarity and anyone else can see how well they're doing in their role, it's that kind of transparency.
Mhm.
They want then time to account for how I'm doing and a
Right.
place to ask for help because everyone can see how I'm doing. Help me succeed.
Yes.
Now they're like, can we have our one-on-one? And they're saying, no, we've got to have a team meeting. I need to be able to coordinate with these three a little more regularly on a few things. Okay, yeah, we could probably set up a meeting to do that regularly.
Yeah.
That they need to get to where they're owning it because it means so much to them. And if the numbers don't mean something to them, so you have numbers and there's no consequences
Right.
for good or for bad,
Hmm.
then why are we having a meeting?
Right. Exactly.
Or if we have a meeting just to hear Susan talk a lot because Susan likes to talk, she's got lots to say. I'm not saying that, not to, but like she loves to talk and she's always telling us ideas. That's not the same as they know meetings are to solve their most pressing and relevant problems. That's why we come together. It's to bring
Yeah.
you the resources to succeed. Uh, have them give input on those meetings. But if you don't have a weekly, I've seen people even have a daily cadence when they're fast moving stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but if you don't have a weekly individual, a weekly team, a monthly leadership, a quarterly strategic level leadership checking in, and the
Hmm.
clarity around that, then there's no time and space to truly account for and to build what you need. So those are some thoughts. Uh,
Okay.
did we miss it then? Is it other issue communications or is this kind of the core still?
It's really the core, I think, is
Okay.
just ensuring everyone hears the same message and understands it the same.
get them being the ones who share it.
Okay.
So start handing to them parts of that meeting.
Yep.
Turn to Rebecca. Say, Rebecca, I need you to do the reviews of this part. Will you share this? And what could we do to take this up a notch in meaning? Or can you share this? And what could we do to take this to the next level? Start including more people so they're owning it and they're having to say it. I have my team point out the core values. We revisit a core value at every weekly meeting. One
Mhm.
core value is highlighted, stories are shared about it, but a different team member is in charge of doing it each time.
I love that.
Then I have another team member who actually runs our metrics and goals and tracks them with everybody. I'm not doing it. She does. Right. And she's there and she's got a score, total score, how we're doing. How did we score this week compared to last week? Right. Guys, we can do better. What's missing? Let's talk about this. It's a team
Yeah.
member that owns that. So get the team members to own the content and they'll start to own the message and remember it a little better too. Because they'll be like, wait, now what did we mean by that? Because they're going to represent it.
Right.
And it's harder
Exactly.
when you have to say it, right? We learn when we teach, not when we're
Yes.
taught.
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
so
No, I love
I
that.
would just shift that into your meetings and do the same things you're doing with your, I'll say the edge principle, right? Basically modeling, having them do that kind of thing. Do the same thing within your meetings. Slowly hand it
Okay.
off to them to lead, and then you can sit back and facilitate, watch, pull out the right people, and
Right.
then the communication's better.
That's
All right,
fantastic. Yeah.
that Susan, that we're getting to the end. If someone wants to have massive impact for their children or the
Mhm.
schools that are around them, how do they contact you?
It's really easy. All you have to do is go to artsintegration.com. Just click the contact tab, and you'll be able to get to me at any point. Just write in, and my team will forward it.
Perfect. Artsintegration.com to drastically change the education system in your community. And then, Susan, thank you so much for joining us. That wraps up this episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. Uh, for those listening, if you found value in it, please like, share, do whatever's necessary to get it to other seven figure business owners. And keep learning, keep striving, keep building your team and working on being that leader that they need you to be. Until next time.